Alright, so if you haven't been living under a rock for the past 2 years, then you've probably noticed the meteoric rise of handheld gaming. Now, many would say that the main push towards portability in gaming was mainly due to the success of the Nintendo Switch, which apparently has sold more than 100 million units, which is insane. And now what we're seeing is a push towards more of the PC side of the market, mainly led by Valve and then others jumping in with Windows handhelds, for example, the Rog Ally or Lenovo or a whole bunch of Chinese competitors as well, like ANEO, GPD, and so on. And I think it's a pretty cool thing to see, a rise of a completely new segment of the market, which was made possible mainly by the technological advancements that have been made in the past 2 years. And now I think it's clear with Steam Deck having sold apparently more than 1 million units, and I'm not sure about the ROG Ally or the others, but we can see that the portable gaming market is moving towards a brighter future. So yeah, on that note, today we're gonna take a look at one of the newcomers in the segment, which is the Lenovo Legion Go. As you can see, this thing is kind of a beast in terms of sheer size and the amount of space it takes in your hands. And this thing as well is packing the latest mobile processor from AMD, which is the Ryzen Z1 Extreme, which can also be found on the ROG Ally, for example. So this thing not only has a pretty powerful mobile processor, but as you can see, it has a huge IPS display, which is the largest among the closest competition from Steam Deck or ROG Ally, which both have 7, or the latest Steam OLED has a 7.4-inch display. This thing is packing an 8.8-inch QHD 144 Hz display. Now, it all seems great on paper, but we'll see how it performs later in the video. And as a default, it only comes with 16 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM, clocked at 7500 megatransfers. And this is actually the base model, so it has 512 gig SSD, which is a pretty weird size SSD. So it's not like there's a whole bunch of different options available to upgrade the storage, but it's definitely doable. Alright, so the device is actually pretty well equipped in terms of buttons and ports available to you. Alright, so on the right side, as you can see, you have the button that opens up the quick menu. You have your Xbox style X, Y, and B buttons, and you have an analog stick for control. But what you also have is a pretty conveniently located trackpad that makes it pretty easy to navigate windows actually. On the right side, what you're gonna see is the Legion Space button. You have your analog stick, a D-pad, and then 2 more buttons that basically act as start and select. So you're also gonna see a whole bunch of different buttons on the back side as well. So you have 2 back-facing buttons over here on the left controller, and then 2 more buttons on the right controller. And you also have the mouse buttons as well on the right controller for when you turn the right controller into the mouse mode. So on top of the device, you have the power button, you have the air exhaust, and you have a micro SD card slot, a USB-C slot, and then the volume up and down button. You also have some pretty nice triggers on both sides of the device with the shoulder buttons as well. Pretty clicky, pretty nice. And on the bottom you have 1 more USB-C port. What you'll also notice on the back of the device are the air intakes. Oh yeah, and what you also have are the top firing speakers, so not front firing speakers here. Alright, so as you can see, although the device is pretty large and it's not the lightest thing ever, it fits in your hands pretty comfortably. And so this is basically what it's gonna look like when it's sitting on its little kickstand, as you can see. Now, as you can see, even when it's propped up on its little kickstand, it's pretty comfortable to grab the controllers. You can actually take both of the controllers off and use them kind of as a remote controller for the Legion Go. So as you can see, at this point, the Legion Go becomes pretty much a Windows 11 tablet. This makes it possible to use the device propped up and then take the controllers with you, for example, if you don't want to play it attached in hand. But I think it's pretty nice that they give this option to you if you don't want to hold the whole device in your hands. With this thing, what Lenovo did is actually pretty cool. So you have the right controller over here, and you have a little switch on the bottom, which says off and then FPS. What you can do is kind of flip the switch, and at this point the controller becomes a mouse. And you can also remove the analog stick over here to make it more convenient to use with the mouse mode. So let me show you. You basically remove this. So what you're basically doing is dropping the controller into this mouse stand thing, which attaches with magnets. As you can see, what you get is basically like a vertical mouse, and you're gonna have your mouse buttons over here, M1, M2. So you can grasp it like this and use it on a table with the sensor facing downwards. I don't know, I'm not really a big fan of this mode, to be honest, but it's really nice to have that option because even with this mode, you have more control, I think, over the mouse pointer than with the analog sticks. And this would allow you to kind of aim better in especially FPS games. What you're doing is basically using the left controller as your WASD. But yeah, I'd say it's a pretty cool idea. Like, I'm not sure how often I would use this, but it could probably come in handy if you want to play like FPS games on the go. So thumbs up for that. Alright, so as you can see, you have pretty much full-fledged Windows 11 running on this device. And Lenovo is giving you a couple of different ways to interact with Windows. So you have like a touch screen, you have the trackpad. You can also swap out the trackpad functionality, I think, for the analog sticks for controlling the cursor, if that's what you prefer. And you also have this thing called Legion Space, which is basically their own version of the kind of big picture mode of the Steam Deck. Although I find it kind of weird because the first thing you're seeing is none of the recently played stuff. Alright, so I also want to show you this thing over here, which is basically their version of the quick settings, so you can play around with the resolution, the refresh rate, and with the lighting effects around the analog sticks as well. On the next menu, what you have is basically your battery overview of the device and the two controllers. You have the tiny performance monitor that shows you how much of a stress is on each of the components. And over here, you also have like the option to turn on a frame monitor. I don't know why, but it doesn't show the FPS for Steam games at the moment. You have the TDP, basically the main thing that you want to be changing if you want to increase or decrease the performance and the power consumption. So what you have here is the quiet mode, which is around 7 watts, the balanced mode, which is around 15, the performance mode, which is around 20 watts, and it should go up to 25 watts when the device is plugged into the power outlet. And then what you also have is the custom mode that you can manually adjust the device to go up to 30 watts. Although, as we're seeing like from other reviewers, it doesn't really give you a whole bunch more performance, so there's kind of a point of like diminishing returns over there. And you also have the OS power mode here, and pretty much everybody that has tested the device says that the efficiency power mode works best at the moment for the Legion Go. So let's jump into a game and see how the device performs. Just to check, we have the device on balance mode, which is 15 watts. So I think we can expect like around 1.5 to 2 hours of battery life in this mode, depending on how heavy the actual load is. We have Red Dead Redemption running on the Legion Go, and we're in the balanced profile. So let me show you what the settings actually are. So as you can see, we're running at 1280 by 800 at 60 Hertz without VSync. And I'm running it at pretty much the middle of the road graphics settings, which if you look very closely, it's not amazing, but keep in mind that we're running at 15 watt TDP and we're basically conserving battery life. And in my opinion, especially something like Red Dead still looks pretty damn great. Alright, so as you can see, we're not running at the highest possible graphics settings, and you're not going to be running it at the highest settings on devices like this. And I'd say it's more than enough for a screen of this size, so you're not blasting it out on a 30-40 inch 4K display. You're looking at it on a 8.8 inch screen, so I think this is like more than enough for what it's doing. And the game still looks very beautiful, it runs very smoothly. And I'm also not going to be showing any FPS or benchmarks in this video. You can find a whole bunch of them on YouTube from more competent YouTubers who are doing those kinds of things. I'm just showing you that this runs, and it runs pretty well, and you can get basically close to 2 hours of gameplay on the Legion Go. So the next thing we're going to take a look at is Skyrim. And for Skyrim, we are running at the medium settings with 1200p resolution. So yeah, once again, as you can see, Skyrim runs pretty smoothly and looks pretty great on this display. And once again, we're running at the balanced preset, which is like 15 watts, and we're running at medium settings with the resolution set to 1200. In my opinion, this is more than playable and looks amazing on this. But yeah, as you can see, like all of the special effects and so on work without like any hiccups, and the frame rate might dip a little bit when you're like in very intense fighting scenes with like different kinds of special effects flying around, but I'd say that most of the time it runs pretty well. So yeah, this thing is actually pretty powerful, so it can run like pretty much all of the AAA games. You can do emulation and things like that. The only thing that you have to keep in mind that, for example, if you're playing something less demanding, for example, like Stardew Valley or like 2D games, you can set the performance preset to the quiet mode and get closer to 3 hours with battery life, whereas with the balanced or performance modes, you're pretty much going to be under the 2 hour mark. If you kind of push it to the 25-30 watts, you're going to be looking at like an hour and a half or even less battery life. So yeah, I think it completely depends on how you use it, because if you're using it laying in bed before sleep, I think an hour to an hour and a half is like pretty nice. If you want to use this as a main gaming device, I suggest to keep it plugged in maybe during longer gaming sessions. So yeah, and the heat dissipation of this system is actually pretty good. I'd say Lenovo did a pretty good job overall with the whole package, and we'll see what comes next. So yeah, with that, is this thing worth $699? Well, I think that's a question you have to answer for yourself, because it depends on how much you value like portability and convenience when you're laying down or sitting down to game. But yeah, I think if Lenovo manages to fix some of the more annoying issues and bugs we have at the moment with the software, this would actually be a great buy. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to see where this part of the market is going to go in the future, because it's a pretty cool idea to have, for example, only a monitor at your desk, and then you have a portable device that's basically packing all of your hardware, and then you can basically dock the portable device and get gaming on a bigger screen, or take it with you and play it on the go, for example. And I think with the Lenovo Legion Go, more than any other device at the moment from big manufacturers, the productivity use case is also very important, because this is a full-fledged, pretty powerful PC with USB ports, so you can take it with you, do some work and so on, especially with an 8.8-inch screen. And with the Lenovo Legion Go especially, I think it's pretty cool to see how the universal aspect of these devices can come across, because you have a pretty powerful PC that you can detach the gaming controllers from. It has a built-in kickstand, it has USB ports, and so basically you can connect a USB keyboard, a Bluetooth keyboard, a mouse, and then do some work on it. Especially with that 8.8-inch gorgeous display. So yeah, I think that's it for me for the Lenovo Legion Go. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more content on the Legion, be sure to subscribe to the channel, drop a comment of what your favorite PC handheld is, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!